see you again, man.
Oh, good to
Hope
see you.
everything's okay. This was kind of unexpected.
Oh, everything's great. You know what? I'm a fan.
No kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding.
All those tips and everything that you brought up about how to replace worn parts with upgraded components, combined with the IXR and the fuel efficiency tune-up.
Mm-hmm.
I want more. So I'm wondering, what else can we do?
Now that you have a good foundation, a known good foundation, we really didn't find much wrong, but one or two things we can look to improve, go well above and beyond. We'd like to start out with some easy, simple bolt-ons, things that don't cost a lot of money, are not rocket science to install. And one of the easy things is like a cold air intake. The factory usually does a good job of taking the air inlet next to the radiator, so it's drawing the cooler air beside the radiator. But I mean, looking at your air intake, yeah, you're drawn next to the radiator into this box, and then the air has to go up, and it goes back, and it goes over, it goes up, and it goes back, and where you're soaking in more engine heat. And I think a cold air intake will give you a more smooth, direct flow, so it's less restrictive, and also shortening the path, it'll absorb less engine heat. So, K&N, AEM, we'll take a look at that and price it out and see what you think. There's something that's not very well known. We call it the magnetic heat exchanger. It goes in series in your fuel line. It comes with all the adapters, fittings. It's all automotive rated fuel components.
Magnets.
Yeah, I know. This urban myth that they don't work, and 99% of the time they don't work because they're installed wrong. But if you go, if you remember the last time or time before you were here, for your friend, I said go up to the top of mpgenie.com and in the library.
Oh, the library, yeah.
There's several documents in there from labs and universities where they tested magnets on the fuel line. They're actually saying that the magnets work when done right. So we, based on the information in our library, we've learned how to do it right. And we see 10, 12% gains with this magnetic heat exchanger. Pretty rock solid.
Actual research papers on this.
Yes, I can't remember laboratory university names. Furthermore, liquid fuel doesn't burn. If you took a spark plug into like a glass of gasoline and triggered a coil, you could see through the glass the spark plug arcing, but it doesn't catch fire because it's in liquid fuel. Injectors spray liquid fuel. But if you could heat it, think of pressure cooker. When you seal it, turn the heat on, it'll hit normal boiling, which is 212 Fahrenheit, 100 Celsius, and that keeps going. And the liquid in there is still liquid. But after it builds up enough pressure to start venting, you only see a short steam stream. And then it's humidity. If you can see it, it's a liquid. So when you see steam coming off of boiling water, those are liquid droplets. When you can no longer see them, they're now fully vaporized, humidity. And ideally, we could heat the fuel up to where every part of the fuel will instantly turn into a vapor coming through the fuel injector, but that would take like 500 degrees. Nothing's going to live.
So like natural gas.
That's what it would be like, more or less.
So we can take a liquid and actually...
But we can't go that hot.
Got it.
But the fact of the matter is any heat you add to the fuel makes more of it vaporize before the spark plug goes off, and more of it burns sooner in the combustion cycle. So heating the fuel and magnets and combining them into one unit, magnetic heat exchanger. And like I mentioned, the kit comes with the hose, the adapters, even the tools, to where it's just you unplug your stock fuel line from your fuel rail, and then you plug this in, you strap it to a heater hose, and then the other line goes into the fuel rail. And if you don't like it when you take it off, you just plug your factory fuel line back in. You haven't cut anything, you haven't destroyed anything. So it's all plug and play.
Okay.
We put Polestar plugs in your truck when we did the fuel economy tune-up because of the coil on plug arrangement. we didn't really have easy access to put peaking caps in. There's a company called Aqua Pulsar. In addition to the box that puts out the really high volts to give plasma discharge ignition, they also offer the adapters and whatnot where we can interface that on your truck with coil packs. The throttle response that you saw from going from worn out stock to the Pulsar plugs,
Yes.
we'll call it this much of an increase. Going from even Pulsar plugs to Aqua Pulsar would be like an additional this much. You will feel it. It is just phenomenal.
Okay.
There's some other things we can do. We had already cleaned out the PCV system for the basic tune-up.
Right.
There's a product called the Smart Emissions Reducer that is really easy to install. You basically have your PCV hose, you cut it, plug it in, bump, you're done.
Okay.
So that's an easy install. And then that takes the crankcase gases that the PCV is recirculating back into the intake. Well, that's heavy oils, it's acids, it's stuff that doesn't burn very well. The Smart Emissions Reducer takes those nasty, oily contaminants and starts fracturing and ionizing them and turning them into something the engine can actually burn and make power with.
That's smart.
Yeah, Smart Emissions Reducer. Got it. From there, we could take a look at ozone. The oxygen in the air is O2. So you have an oxygen atom, and they got two little arms, valence electron arms that connect. And in combustion, one of the things that you have to do is you have to break one of those arms apart so that these guys can start grabbing hydrogens. I go into it in a lot of detail on the mpgenie.com site and the combustion characteristics considered section. So if I'm intriguing you and you want to learn more. But bottom line is that stable oxygen is difficult, energy intensive, I should say, to break apart so that it can now bond with hydrogen or carbon to make power. Ozone would be like minimum 3 or 4 or 60 oxygen atoms all loosely bound together. The amount of energy it takes to split O2, ambient oxygen, is a lot. The amount of energy it takes to break away an O3 is a lot less. So it supercharges the oxidizer aspect of your air charge. Bottom line is you will see an improvement in fuel economy. And you may or may not feel it at the pedal, but you will see an improvement in fuel economy. So a lot of technologies work together synergistically, where one helps the other. Another one of those controversial technologies is the onboard hydrogen generators, the HHO. And Mythbusters and a bunch of other people are out there saying it's nothing but crap. It's not making a fuel. You're taking water and you're using electricity to electrolyze the water into hydrogen and oxygen elements. And if you were just going to burn those and try to get more power back than it took to form it, Faraday says no way. But we're not making a fuel, we're making a combustion accelerant. It's like putting more octane into the fuel you're already burning. The hydrogen elements burn much faster than anything in gasoline. And so when the spark plug goes off, normally you have this flame propagation where the flame kind of reaches further and further out, where the fuel that's on fire lights the fuel that's next to it, and then as that burns, it lights the fuel that's next, flame propagation. When you have this HHO in the combustion chamber, when the spark plug goes off, the fuel's trying to do this, but the HHO goes, and it's like the whole combustion chamber is on fire like that. And as the HHO burns, it lights the fuel on fire all throughout the combustion chamber.
Wow.
The flame speed of gasoline, 41.5 centimeters per second. the flame speed of HHO is like 130,000 centimeters per second. So when that spark plug goes off, it's like a camera flash throughout the entire cylinder, lighting all the fuel on fire simultaneously.
Is that information also
on the mpgenie.com website? Yes, it is. That would be under expounding on expansion, I think is the
Can I
term.
find that in your library?
Yeah, although we have a lot of information on HHO in the library.
Perfect.
The thing about HHO is, again, synergistically, it seems to work best on engines that have EGR valves because the exhaust gases are a more powerful expansion medium. So the HHO is able to work with that more powerful expansion medium and make more power, get better fuel economy.
A lot of the stuff is above my head, but is there a way that my mechanic friend can learn more about this in detail and be able to offer this to his customers?
There's the website that was based on a one-day training program that was plain English. I wanted to be able to teach it to a 10th grader, and a 10th grader would get it. But if your friend, he has a shop, you say?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
We have like a 1 week long professional technician training program.
He might like that.
And that's cool because we sit down in the classroom and we learn about magnetic heat exchanger, since we just recently talked about that. And then we go out into the garage and we install one. And then we go back and we learn about different ignition tricks. And then we go out to the shop and we actually build it. And we're going to be testing this, that 5-gas emissions analyzer. And then we go back in and we learn about something else. And then we go back out to the shop. And so over the course of a week, it's back and forth, classroom, shop, classroom, shop. And, oh, by the way, he's good. If he comes to one of these classes, he's going to be asked to bring his own vehicle, because when we go to the shop, he's going to be souping up his car. When he goes home, he's going to be driving home the proof in the pudding.
Well, now I'm getting interested.
Yeah. And nobody can tell him otherwise, because he's driving the results. And then with that knowledge base, he could get involved in the MPG program, and we'll get him his own 5-gas analyzer so that he's protected legally. And also, it's a selling aid for customers. Look, we improved your vehicle. Look how far the emissions were reduced. The other tools, ignition tools, also supplies. I talked to you about the magnetic heat exchanger. I'm going to show you one out in the shop. I talked to you about the MP Gold additive. You know, we're going to stop coming up with all this stuff.
How about the IXRs?
The IXRs, we get them discount prices on the Polestar spark plugs. He'll get them cheaper from us than he can contacting Polestar direct. And then that means he can mark it up to retail and actually make a profit, you know, on the parts when he markets fuel economy to his customers.
Sounds good. So,
yeah, if you can, have him get a hold of me at info@mpgenie.com. And we can talk about setting up a class. We need a couple of people, so I'm sure he has some friends in the industry, and we'll need a place to do it. So maybe his garage, or one of his friends that want to get involved.
Wow, I'm thinking that you really are a genie. Could you take a look at my truck and see what makes sense?
Yeah, you know what? Why don't we bring it in, and I'll get my laptop set up, and I'll go to the shelves and pull out some different things.
Well, it's going to take me a little time to save up some money, but with the fuel savings I'm getting every month.
You keep coming back, man. Yeah. I'm going to spill my guts to you. Let's go out here and see what we got on the shelf, right?
Right. Thanks a lot.